Fabio Fazio was born in Savona in 1964, November 30. That year marks the start of a career that would intertwine Italian culture, news, and entertainment for more than 4 decades. Most biographical summaries agree, a native of Savona, class of '64, an early debut, and a steadily rising centrality on public television, culminating in his 2023 move to the Warner Brothers Discovery Group. Childhood, adolescence, and studies. He grew up in Liguria, between Varazzi roots on his father's side and southern Italian origins on his mother's, born in Ethiopia to Calabrian parents. He attended the Gabriello Chiabrera Classical High School in Savona. After beginning in law, he shifted to the humanities and earned a degree in Italian literature at the University of Genoa, writing a thesis on singer-songwriters, a revealing detail of the grammar he would bring to television, always crossed by literature, music, language, and social themes. This humanistic training shows up in a kind of spiritual growth, understood as civic and cultural sensibility, attention to words, stories, and the biographies of guests, plus an idea of television as a space for public conversation. It's a secular spirituality made of curiosity for people's lives, respect for dialogue, and the constant practice of listening, traits that later marked his best-known interviews. Youth and early steps in radio and TV. His beginnings tell of a teenager who sought the microphone before the camera. On radio, he moved from local stations, Radio Vecchia Savona, Radio Golfo Ligure, to the RAI show Blackout, 1982, where he stood out as an impressionist. In 1983, he won a RAI New Faces competition and debuted on TV with Pronto Raffaella, hosted by Raffaella Carrà. Next came Loretta Goghi in Quiz, 1984, Sponsor City, 1985, L'Orecchiocchio, 1985, and Jeans, 1986, stepping stones that blended light entertainment, pop culture, and his taste for relationship-driven presenting. Between 1987 and the early 90s, he broadened his range. On Odeon TV, he co-hosted Forza Italia, a mix of soccer and variety. On Telemonte Carlo, he created and hosted the satirical Banan, 1990-91, and worked as a writer on Tomo TV. In 1991, he returned to Rai with Fantastico Bis, and in 1992, he fronted the Rai 3 quiz Porca Miseria. These were years of steady apprenticeship in which the figure of the gentle entertainer took its definitive shape. Takeoff, Quelli c'è il calcio, and TV maturity. The watershed year is 1993. Fazio created and hosted Quelli c'è il calcio on Rai 3, later Rai 2, inventing a Sunday ritual that spoke both to soccer diehards and to viewers who loved the sport's surrounding moods and characters. Popular consensus and awards followed, including a 1994 Telegato, but above all a stylistic key, courteous irony, conversational pacing, and guest-centered storytelling. With Anima Mia, 1997, with Claudio Baglioni, he won the Premio Regia TV, cementing another cornerstone, television as a shared memory capable of affection and nostalgia without indulgence. In parallel, radio remained his workshop. Starting in 1983, he was among the voices of Blackout, alongside Enrico Vaime and Simona Marcini. Radio trained his ear for words, for spoken word timing, for building images and synthesis through voice alone. Stages and venues, from the Ariston to the Casino Municipale. Though primarily a studio presenter, Fazio's name is tied to iconic physical stages. The most famous is the Teatro Ariston in Sanremo, where he hosted the Sanremo Music Festival in 1999, 2000, 2013, and 2014, 4 editions strongly marked by authorial choices and narrative design. In Sanremo 99, alongside the main competition, he also hosted Sanremo Notte from the Teatro Casino Municipale. Thanks to the festival, these theaters became his most recognizable live platforms, signature successes and defining formats. After Quelliche, his mature phase is defined by formats that weave together talk, culture, and current affairs. Beginning in 2003, Fazio created and led Che Tempo Che Fa, a flagship show that codified the long-form conversation with Italian and international guests. The program crossed networks and seasons, Rai 3, then Rai 1, Rai 2, and back to Rai 3, until its 2023 move to Nove, remaining a central Sunday appointment. In Italian TV, it's a rare case for duration, tone, and recognizability. In 2010 came Vieni Via Con Me with Roberto Saviano, 4 primetime events on Rai 3 with exceptional ratings. Among milestone interviews, Fazio conducted 3 televised conversations with Pope Francis, February 2022, then 2024, and January 2025. Episodes that reinforced the idea of a talk show able to cross confessional and cultural boundaries. Further proof of his attention to big ethical themes and to narratives of the human beyond the day-to-day news cycle. The through-line, classical studies, radio, variety, talk. In Fazio's biography, each step prepares the next. Liguria and a classical education supplied vocabulary and curiosity. Adolescence and youth in radio taught timing and proportion. The 1980s TV apprenticeships sculpted the polite entertainer. The 1990s brought the popular success of Quelliche, Sanremo, and early major recognitions. The 2000s consolidated the authorial talk format, Che Tempo Che Fa, and civic hybridization, Vieni Via Con Me. The Sanremo stages, Ariston and Cassino, are emblematic venues where he used the ritual of a grand showcase to rewrite its tone and grammar. The Fazio method, in 3 words. If we had to condense his signature, it would be listening, poise, continuity. Listening. The ability to let guests speak without assault, inviting narratives built on trust. Poise. A hosting style that avoids shouting and relies on civility as infrastructure for public conversation. Continuity. Maintaining, over more than 20 years, a recognizable, adaptable brand, Che Tempo Che Fa, capable of changing networks without losing its soul. The record ratings of Vieni Via Con Me and the long life of CTCF bear this out. A provisional closing. Born in 1964, educated among the classics and the singer-songwriters, Fazio has traversed Italian TV with a gentle prose, irony without sarcasm, curiosity without cynicism, and an idea of television as a sober public square. Whether on the Sanremo Ariston stage, in the studio of Che Tempo Che Fa, or behind a radio mic, his career holds popularity and depth together, turning the interview into a space for shared storytelling. That is the clearest legacy of a career that has, with patient persistence, placed words and people at the center of prime time.